I don't know if I lost the internet just on the laptop or because what happens is that I watch the chat and the video here, and then you guys are over there, but it just says error. Please try again later. Are you guys there? Can you see me? Is there anyone there? I mean, it looks like that is just super lame though, that I just can't see anything. See if I can fix it. So hi, it's illumignostic, and assume you guys are probably the regular crew. I hope you checked out the 420 coin, the interview that I did with the CEO, Reese Little. That was the first video for our conscious crypto and investing channel, and I think it's a really good project. He seems really sincere. Yeah, this link doesn't work. Well, I don't know if you guys can see me, but I can see the chat here. I think it's working. So, at any rate, I just wanted to kind of talk about different stuff tonight. There's a lot happening in the world, and there's a lot happening in my life, and it's really hot and muggy tonight. Yeah, I don't know if I can stand this, man. I don't know why it would not work. I mean, how could it possibly be that you guys can watch, but I can't see? Like, what? It doesn't know it's me, does it? Is that what it is? Maybe, okay, hold on. I'll switch accounts and try to watch it from a different account, and then maybe it'll let me. Yeah. What is that about? Okay, well, I can also see that you guys can't really see my face. Well, hello, finally. Okay, now that we have our shit together a little bit, I feel a little bit better. See what's going on here. So, hi guys. I was thinking about the music last night. I don't know if you guys were there. A friend of mine, I found out that she died, and so I was playing acoustic guitar for hours and hours and hours, and there's this one song that I didn't get to, that I had intended to play, and I thought about it again tonight because I was thinking, well, if I play a couple of electric songs with a backing track, I should play that song then. And I just had this memory. So I was in this band called Shotgun Jesus back in the day, and it was kind of a novelty, like not novelty. What do you call it when you have like a concept project? And the concept basically was that Jesus was actually the devil, and that's the story the Bible was actually telling. And so it was almost cartoony, this thing. And from the very beginning, the experience of being in the band was full of all these crazy synchronicities. I had just become aware of the Grateful Dead and the jam band scene, but more importantly, the idea that there was a consciousness that was interpenetrating everything, and that we could sort of suspend our filters in our mind and connect with this universal consciousness. And I started to hear these rumors when I started to hang around the Deadhead scene, that the weather would seem to respond to the Grateful Dead a lot. And these stories aren't just like, you know, maybe they sing a lyric about the wind and the wind blows. That kind of stuff people would talk about, and it's like, okay, well, the wind blows every 30 seconds or something, you know? I mean, it's not necessarily that unusual for something to synchronize like that. But these stories were a lot crazier than that. Um, and maybe I'll tell you guys one just because it really kind of elucidates what the intensity that this can kind of come to. And what I was saying about that is that the way that I explained it to myself once I got around the fact that um, I didn't think I could dismiss it anymore. That when you had a large group of people that, especially if they had all taken psychedelics, because the filters in their consciousness were, you know, the reducing valve has been turned up. Um, so you have this like telepathic mass that, you know, it's not indisputably proven, and you know, it's important to note that, but at least it's fair to say the jury's still out as to whether or not consciousness and the expectations of an observer have some effect on subatomic particles. And so I reasoned that when you have a whole bunch of individual units of consciousness or whatever, you know, monads, individual human beings, and the filter in their consciousness had been taken down, and their emotions and thoughts and consciousness were being amplified by the music, and particularly I think these psychedelic bands, particularly the Grateful Dead, that really were aware of their ability to absorb, amplify, and sort of redistribute energy, because that's really what they were doing. You know, the real thing about a Grateful Dead concert was not. I'm not going to say it wasn't the music, because the music was cool, but there was this energy that would come when this collective mind circumstance had been created. And so one of those circumstances was that the weather would respond in ways that was remarkable. And so just to give you guys an example, and this was well after the Grateful Dead were history, it was just a cover band. So there was a festival in Spotsylvania, Virginia called the All Good Festival. And I had no idea what to expect. I thought they marketed it as a bluegrass festival because it was like the South and conservative, and they didn't want cops beating up hippies and arresting everyone. And so they marketed it as a bluegrass festival, and so I don't even know why I went, because it's not really my thing. And so as we were walking into the festival grounds, I was with my brother, and he was not, you know, this was not his scene either. He was definitely wearing like black fingernail polish and Marilyn Manson shirt or whatever. And this older hippie guy was walking by us, and he just randomly says, "The Dead used to make it rain when they played Looks Like Rain." And we're like, "Okay, old man, go eat some more LSD," you know, rolling our eyes at him or whatever. And it's important to note that in the 30 years that the Grateful Dead were playing, they only repeated a set list once. So they played different songs in a different order every single concert, which really doesn't make any sense. That's just stupid. Like, I'm pretty sure no one has ever done anything like that. It's just insane to just to retain the amount of information that would be required to do that, and to even just not accidentally repeat it, you know. But they did that, and so the point being that the chances that they were going to play anything in particular on any given night were not very high, because they played so many 3,000 songs, 3,500 songs or something. And so this band recreated Grateful Dead concerts. So It's not like they were like regurgitating the greatest hits, the most popular, and this song was not one of those, anyways. And so I had no idea what that song was. I had never heard it, and we just kind of blew that off and went to the tent and got ready, and then we went back down to the show. And so Dark Star Orchestra starts to play, and um, they they get to this ballad, you know, towards the end of the first set, and I had never heard it, so I didn't realize what was happening. And then I heard the guy say, and it feels like rain, and raindrops hit my face, and I remember when the show started, I looked around because I was thinking about the old man and what he said, and I thought, well, it was clear, you know, I checked, I definitely checked. So it's not even like the band could have planned like, oh, here comes um, rain clouds, so we should go into this song, you know, uh, because they're playing a show that they had pre-selected with a set list that actually happened at some point in history, right? So it's not like they could just suddenly like try to, you know, trick everyone and make the timing work. And so you know, my brother and I just look at each other, our eyes bugged out, like, man, that can't be happening. And so it rains harder and harder and harder and harder and harder as the song gets more intense and louder. And on the last beat of the, you know, the big brrr at the end of the song, lightning shot horizontally over the top of the crowd, like right on the beat. And later talking to the band, which was a crazy thing. I'll just tell the rest of the story, I guess, because it just keeps getting crazier. But so I didn't know this at the time, but that lightning bolt actually blew out, hit the stage, and hit a transformer, and so the sky just cracks open, and it's just pouring rain. And this is like, you know, 20,000 kids, mostly in their early 20s, some older people that had actually seen the Dead do this kind of shit in the past, and um, so, you know, even the younger people, though, had heard these stories. And so we all just, no one even cheered or anything. It was just like 20,000 people in total silence, just like turn around and uh, walk back to the tents in silence in the pouring rain. Like they couldn't finish the show because the fucking stage was blown up. Um, So, so you know, I was aware of this kind of stuff when we started Shotgun Jesus, and I mean, I guess I have to go. We have to take a little sidetrack out of the main story and back into the Shotgun Jesus thing, because the first time that we rehearsed outdoors. Um, uh, so it was like at this biker's house, and it was a big party, and they had set these like tents, I guess, just for the rain, you know, like tarps with poles in concrete buckets, basically. And so we were sound checking with Comfortably Numb, and the heavy part at the end. Uh, it was again clear, I think, when we started the song, so it was just a matter of minutes. And as the jam at the end got more and more intense, the wind's blowing harder and harder and harder, and it ultimately ended up blowing so hard that the metal pole, one of them, ripped out of the concrete bucket and was like flapping around, pouring rain. And I see this, and I'm thinking, oh shit, this is dangerous, because people had started to arrive. So we just kind of wrapped it up, and as we stopped, the wind's gone, the rain stops, everything's calm, and we're all just going like, what in the fucking hell was that, you know? And so, of course, the possibility that it's totally unconnected exists, but it didn't really stop there, right? So we had been experiencing all of these synchronicities around this period, and I was becoming, you know, as I'm describing, kind of aware of this like universal mind that um, sort of facilitates these experiences of like weather responding to music. And um, so so we had a photo shoot between sound check uh, and the first set. And so we we went over to the side of this barn. This was like a really old ranch, and this guy Shumway owned it. And okay, so the name of the band was Shotgun Jesus, right? Um, and we have this photo shoot. So suddenly Shumway comes out, and he's like this old country kind of cowboy guy, and talked real slow with a drawl, and he's like, Shotgun Jesus, I got something for you guys. And he goes in the house, and he comes out, and he has this like antique box with Jesus nailed to the butt of like a rifle, which isn't a shotgun, but why the fuck would anyone have that? And so here we are, this band with this weird name, and we go to have a photo shoot at this random ranch. The storm happens. Between the storm and the photo shoot, that this guy just has this random prop that is exactly this weird name that the band has. And so something else like that happened immediately. I can't remember what the other detail was, but then the bass player just randomly said, and then an eagle flew over and went pew pew, and it happened like right away. The eagle flew over and made the sound, and we're all like, what in the fuck is going on? And then the singer said, and then $1 million fell from the sky, and nothing happened, of course. So that kind of energy is a thing, and I think that this music amplifies it. So let's go back to the Dark Star Orchestra story, because this, and really, I'm trying to just elucidate like how it is that I've come to this conclusion that there's some kind of universal consciousness. It's something akin to God. I obviously don't believe in like a fairy tale, like the old school standardized religion kind of view of this, but okay, so hear me out here. So Dark Star Orchestra, right? The lightning bolt hits the stage. I'm 21 years old. I see this band do this, like, mind totally blown, and I keep going to see them now afterwards. And their name is Dark Star Orchestra. Dark Star is like this 30-minute song that the Dead would just improvise forever, and it was kind of like their Stairway to Heaven or something, like a magnum opus sort of deal. And so Dark Star, I never heard them play that song, and so I was, after every show, I thought, like, that's what their name is. How can they just never ever play that? So over time, I became like pretty much obsessed with the Grateful Dead and this idea of using music to convey the gnosis, to actually elevate consciousness in the audience. And one of the things I noticed right away is that they did almost measurably, definitely observably, have a very consistent influence on their audience. They didn't have a message that they sang about, really. There's a couple songs like Ripple and a few others where they're actually sort of saying it, but for the most part, the material had nothing to do. Like, they weren't vocalizing, they weren't articulating the message, and the music doesn't really, most of it doesn't like feel like even fluffy and warm and fuzzy. A lot of it's actually pretty dark and nice, man. Yeah, Dead and Company. I'm not a huge Mayer fan, but it's great to see those guys are still out there filling football stadiums. What are they, like 114 or something? Those guys, like, I know they're pushing 80. Bob Weir has been on the road, the rhythm guitarist, since he was 15 years old, like 60 years ago, with little time off. It's just incredible, that guy, all he knows is like standing on a stage and looking out into like tens of thousands of people. That's all he's ever done, like his entire life. I don't know how he survived. Can you imagine being 15 years old and you're part of the first wave of psychedelic white people or whatever, like you're just coming out of the 50s bland robot, like, what it was, and somehow he's in the epicenter of that as a child, basically high on acid, and he's doesn't even have any serious drug problems. You know, I mean, who is that guy? So, anyways, Dark Star Orchestra never plays this fucking song, and so um, I had really become convinced, or I had noticed at least, that I would like conceive of really specific circumstances that I needed to, you know, I needed certain musicians for a band, or at one point, like, I sort of like made an order for like a girl of a certain age, hair color, rich family that was willing to throw money at my musical project. I was only half serious, like laying in bed, like fantasizing about this or whatever. And she was like living with me 2 weeks later. And this stuff was happening like, and then I wanted to talk to Danny Carey from Tool one time, and I just like drove right to him. I didn't stalk him or anything. I just drove right to him and talked to him, you know. And I told people I was doing it, you know. I mean, I had to have witnesses the whole time just for my own sanity, even. But so I had noticed this. It's like this the new agey kind of idea of manifestation, you know. And it's like, man, there really seems to be something to this, you know. It's Um, well, yeah, no one gets the Grateful Dead until you get the Grateful Dead. It's not like you just put it on and listen to it and you're like, oh yeah, that's amazing. I mean, I'm not trying to be condescending, Charles. It's not that there's something wrong with you, but there is something wrong with your brain. And it's not anything that's not wrong with everyone else's brain. I mean, I'm not like, you know, making fun of you. I'm just saying, like, I honestly believe that what they're doing is so subtle that you, at first at least, you don't get it unless you're on acid. You know, it doesn't have to be a lot of acid or mushrooms, whatever. But I think that our normal consciousness isn't really sophisticated enough to really process it correctly. Because the way that I describe it is that it's like those, remember those crystal, they were like, I can't remember what they're called, but they were like blurry images, and you would stare at them until your eyes went out of focus, and then there would be a 3D image. That's how the Grateful Dead and psychedelics are. And the first time I experienced it, I actually thought it's got to be the acid. So I took the Grateful Dead out and put something else in, and it sounded better, kind of, but it's not the same kind of like ridiculous transformation from a bunch of gobbledygook that almost doesn't make sense to like this three-dimensional music with geometries and like, you know, I mean, it's just the most insane thing that I have ever witnessed. And anyone that gets it will tell you the same thing. You know, it's just there's like nothing comparable on the planet. Like, and it's not. Once you get it, it's like it's not this. It's not even in the thing with other music. There's the Grateful Dead and everything else. God, Animal Collective, man. I haven't thought about those guys in such a long time. Wasn't Fishman from Fish a part of that? Anyways, look, I don't want to get too off track here. I'll never remember the story. So the manifestation thing, right? It's like I'm writing these scripts and shit is just happening, you know? And so so I had gone out to California, and this was some number of years after the original. Hi, Enrica. After the, you know, these early experiences with all this stuff, and um, I was like, man, I wish Dark Star Orchestra would just like have a school where they taught people how to do this stuff. And I said that to my then pretend wife. It's a long story, but so like a few days later, she somehow finds on her phone Dark Star Orchestra High School. They're doing this 1 week thing where you can go and stay with them for a week in New York. Like they had never done it before, never did it again. And I had just said this like a few days before she finds it, and it was, you know, messing with me even a little bit because I'm like, man, I can't be making this shit happen. That's too much, you know. You do have to be careful if you start experiencing this kind of stuff. I definitely went a little bit weird, and you know, I'm only giving you guys a tiny bit. There was during this time period, there was so much of this stuff that it was almost constant, you know, just like so insane that it's I like I said, I had to have witnesses or I would have just thought I'd lost my mind or something. It was just constantly like this. And so I fly out there, and and at one point, okay, so Donna Jean Godchild, the backup singer from the Grateful Dead, was there. That was crazy. Like this woman had eaten LSD with um, with Garcia on the Great Pyramid. You know, like okay, and let's speaking of manifesting stuff, you guys, like let's talk about how Donna got in the Grateful Dead. Did I just tell this story last night? Because I don't want to get too redundant. Yeah, I think I did. Didn't I? I must have. Yeah, I think I did. So I won't. I won't. But basically, she just decided she was going to be in the band, and then just was. Like she just went and told Garcia, like me and my husband are in the Grateful Dead now. And Garcia, they were nobody. You know, it's not like they were famous or something. And he's like, okay, they were just random ass people, and that's what they did. They just walked right into the Grateful Dead. So you know, don't define yourself according to like ideas of limitation, because I think if you get rid of that, you know. Um, you can do a lot more than you probably think. And I think you know, the reason I didn't take this as far as I could, in case, you know, that's a pretty obvious question to ask, it scared me, you know. And I noticed that it was making my ego a little weird. So, you know, I think I've had to come down here to, it hasn't stopped, by the way. I mean, it's like I had to, also I was severely traumatized and damaged, and I think if I had become famous or something and gotten a bunch of money, I would have OD'd on drugs eventually or something. You know what I mean? I just don't think it was not, it just wouldn't have worked. So it's like I had to come down here to South America and kind of recalibrate and get a hold of myself before I go back and continue with this plot. So anyways, so Dark Star Orchestra, Donna's there, you know, in the audience, which was just David Gans, who, you know, when I was like getting into the Dead, I read all his books and stuff. I mean, this guy who like knew Garcia and everybody, and the keyboard player in Dark Star at the time had actually been in the Dead after Garcia died. So I was playing with this guy that I'd seen at Red Rocks on stage with the Dead and shit, you know. And so I'm on the back porch and I'm talking to Dino, the drummer, about Tool and stuff. And, you know, the rest of the guys in the band were not hip to that, but he was down. And so I mentioned that show where the lightning bolt hit the stage and the sky cracked open and it dumped, and they remembered it, of course, you know. And Rob, the rhythm guitarist, was like, yeah, that lightning bolt hit the stage and blew the transformer out. So, you know, also if there was any question in my mind about the lightning bolt or any, because we were definitely tripping when all this happened, you know. You know, it all vanished because I was talking to these guys. They were on the stage. They remembered it. You know what I mean? The fucking lightning bolt hit the stage, I guess, and blew the transformer. I thought that they didn't continue the show because it was raining so hard, but the lightning actually hit the stage. And I mean, can you imagine that shit? You know, I mean, those guys were probably high as hell too, and they're like playing this super intense music, and suddenly a lightning bolt hits the stage. It's just so insane. So I'm talking to Rob Eaton, the rhythm guitarist, and I'm about to go play with them with Donna and David Gans in the audience, and so I was like, so what do you want to play, Scarlet Fire or something? And he's like, how about Dark Star? And I almost puked or something, you know, like, I mean, because after every show, like somehow it's like the universe had orchestrated it so that I missed, like, every show I went to, they just didn't play it. It wasn't one where they played Dark Star. It's not that they don't play it. That's not it. That's just not true. And I saw them like 7 times or something, and then I realized, like, that's because the universe was waiting for you are going to be on stage with Dark Star Orchestra the first time you hear them play Dark Star. And if you had told me that when I was standing out in the rain watching them, you know, summon the storm and shit, you know, that I would actually be on stage with them at some point with Donna in the audience, my head would have exploded. So, see what I mean? You know, I mean, it's just, this kind of stuff is just why we have to get rid of the fucking dominator culture and the vapid, empty society that we have cultivated. Because I am convinced. Yeah, I played it with them. There was a recording, and it was in a phone that was in a storage locker that was repossessed in Northern California, and it didn't matter anyways because it was only repossessed because it rained and the place wasn't waterproof. Everything in there was destroyed and just molded to death, so I didn't bother to try to even get anything out of it. But yeah, I definitely. Uh, you know, there's always, you know, dream and nightmare. Like everything is balanced by its opposite in both macrocosm and microcosm. And also, I just caught myself kind of evading some responsibility there, but I still had a pill problem at the time, and I wasn't really that into it. You know, I didn't really try that hard even. You know, I think maybe that was like also rationalizing being terrified, but I had an incredibly bad attitude towards the um, whole thing, you know. And I mean, we could put me on the couch and analyze all that, you know. I mean, I guess I definitely had a massive self-sabotaging complex that I'm just starting to really come to terms with. That was another reason to get out of to step back and come down here and drink ayahuasca a bunch and, you know, get humbled some this is a good time to mention that this is why it's so important to the pursuit of the ability to manifest your dreams uh, is very often not tempered with an adequate practice of like willpower and discipline and self-analysis. And I thought that I was really good at all of that stuff, and I was. But looking back, I also realized that you can come to understand something about yourself and still not fix it. You know, I used to really be convinced that all it took was this revelation of, you know, this is what's wrong with me, and this is what caused it. You know, what influences uh, came to bear, you know, to produce that fruit. And you know, of course, there's a lot more to it. You have to rewire everything. You know, and for a long, long time, I wasn't taking psychedelics. I was taking painkillers, and I think that one of the consequences of that is that you're not only are you not enhancing your neuroplasticity, the opposite is happening. I think with those type of drugs, you're uh, reinforcing demons, basically. Um, and I'm sure that the neurochemical and neurobiological um, manifestation of that would be that your brain is very rigid. And you know, that's super painful, man, when you're aware of like what is in the way and you still are incapable of resolving it. I mean, I'm sure you guys know you're human. But this is, you know, what I'm talking about here is what motivates me. Uh, you know, I was thinking about this earlier that you know, I always talk about how discovering the true will, connecting to it, and devoting every breath and every act to that higher purpose is really what every single person on earth needs to be doing in order to have some kind of harmony. And that for me, it's not really actually even playing music. I have always been compelled to, I don't know how to put it, to like catalyze gnosis in people, you know? And it's kind of a nice thing because it's a really pure sort of motivation. Oftentimes there's really nothing in it for me other than you know, it's just really satisfying to know that I had some role to play in facilitating that in people. And whatever else you might think about Aleister Crowley, that was his message in a nutshell. And one of the things that he suggested as being fundamentally important to the widespread adoption of this revelation or this new paradigm where, you know, people are not lost and they're not purposeless. You know, they have discovered their true will, and that's what everyone is doing, is that, you know, children are allowed to choose their own subjects in school according to their proclivities and their interests and their own ingenium, as he put it. And I have noticed that there is a drift in that direction amongst a pretty significant demographic these days. So I think that, you know, I mean, he predicted that it would happen, and I think that he was correct. It is happening. And, you know, what I'm trying to do with this channel, and by the way, you know, I'm expanding my social media reach as much as I can and as rapidly as I can. All of a sudden, I've discovered TikTok, which is like a fucking nightmare, man. I had no idea that people are that weird. I'm glad that they're weird. You know, I don't know that I'm really stoked on exactly the way that a lot of them are weird, but man, that is a fucking crazy place, man, TikTok. You know, it was really shocking because I was thinking, well, maybe I can find, you know, another audience here, and I was like, man, I might be too normal for this. You know, like I have the opposite problem on TikTok that I normally would have. But you know, and also you know, the conscious crypto and investing, and then we're doing the travel channel thing, and I'm just encouraging you guys to kind of do the same thing. You know, I mean, listen to my stories and how many of them there are, and I'm telling you, all you have to do is, you know, in any one of, but hopefully a cluster of things to increase inter-region communication in your brain, and to bring down the filters in your nervous system, if only temporarily, because I think exposure to it is enough. You know, but as I was also saying, you know, and the big problem with me is that the most complete set of talents and virtue is totally useless in the absence of willpower and discipline. So it doesn't matter if you can storm heaven and steal the secrets. If you're just going to end up like Mickey Mouse in Fantasia, when he forgets his station and tries to usurp the scepter of the real magician, and finds himself way in over his fucking head, you know, which is what happened to me. There's a tremendous amount of energy to stir up, and, you know, in my case, there were layers and layers of issues with it. I mean, I had a lot of insecurity issues, and so to suddenly have all this power and adoration from people and stuff, I mean, I did a fair job of dealing with it, I think, but it definitely fucking messed with me, you know. I was not equipped for it yet. I mean, okay, look, I'll tell you guys one more aspect of the story. This is from the same week that that the thing with the Dark Star Orchestra High School thing happened. The Phoenix had become a really central sort of symbol for me. Still is. My son's middle name is Phoenix. Last dog was named Phoenix. Well, it's my girlfriend's dog. But I didn't really like that dog very much. I always feel weird about that, you know, when you have like I love animals, but every now and then there's a dog. The dog lives here, I don't really like him very much. He's sweet, but he just, if he gets anywhere near you, he's gonna lick, and he's just constantly chewing noise all the time, and just, anyways, what were we talking about? Okay, the Phoenix. So, um, so I know I've told this story on the channel before, so forgive me if I'm redundant again, but you know, it's like I said, I was an obsessive deadhead, and I had read like everything that I could find. You know, Garcia's complete interviews was in a book even, you know. I thought I had read every word that he had ever said, at least to a, you know, publication. And so, magic with a K, of course, was also something that had significance for me at the time. And I'm online, and I find this article in a magazine called Magical Blends, which I'd never heard of, and it's an interview with Garcia. And I thought, well, that is weird. How did I miss this all these years? And I had this experience where there was like this voice that I would hear sometimes, and you know, like Terrence McKenna said, it's not a big accomplishment to hear a voice in your head, but when it's consistently telling the truth, you know, it's a different story. And so it was, this voice was always, you know, and it didn't ever tell me to do anything evil or stupid. It just had input sometimes, and it was very harsh, kind of. It was not nice exactly, but it, you know, not terribly mean. And it had this like hollow mocking laughter, I called it. And it was like teaching me things. I went through all these crazy processes with it and stuff, and I never decided whether it was part of my own subconscious or if it was actually some kind of spirit or what the hell it was. I never made up my mind. Just like Crowley never made up his mind about what the thing was that dictated the book of the law to him. Was it his subconscious, or was it actually a being? And so I was reading this interview with Garcia, and he says, yeah, I had this voice that popped into my head for a couple of years. It had this hollow, mocking laughter. He used the same, I think I said hollow, awful laughter, and he said hollow, mocking laughter. Like, almost identical to the, you know, the descriptives were the same. And what it was doing with him, he described exactly the way that I described this. And I had come to call it my Phoenix process, and he said, I call it my Phoenix process. And so here's like my all-time hero describing having gone through exactly identically the same process that I did. It even come up with the same term to describe this experience. And so about a week later, I went to see the surviving members of the Grateful Dead in a band called Further. And so every New Year, they have a countdown, and they have something made of paper mache will fly down from the rafters and land on the stage. Sometimes it's a joint with a girl sitting on it throwing roses. Sometimes it was Bill Graham writing something. And so I'm outside talking to these people, and I'm like explaining what I think the universe is and what it does, how it was like nothing, and then nothing became conscious, which was a bad bargain, kind of. And so it basically, you know, it creates all of these different, fulfills all of the potential possibilities that are sort of defined by the parameters of natural law that time around. And then once it consumes all of the potentials and possibilities, another way to think about it is that the light dissolves itself. That's what the Ouroboros really is symbolizing. And then it collapses back on itself, but all the energy is still there. So that's how the singularity happens, and it blows up. The Big Bang is actually a repeating process. And so I was like, so the Phoenix is really, and I think I did a way better job of explaining it at the time, you know. And there were these two kids I had noticed while I was talking to the people I was talking to, leaning up against the wall, and their eyes were kind of wide. And so they're like, hey man, could you explain that to us? And so I went over and told the thing again to the people, those guys. And so the last thing I said to them was the phoenix is, that's the central thing, that's the important thing. And we go in and they do the countdown, and it's a phoenix that flies down this time and lands on the stage. And, I can just imagine those kids' heads exploding like somewhere in the audience. They actually found me the next morning in San Francisco, and they're like, we've been looking for you all morning in a city of 3 million people, or whatever, But so all of that was in 1 week, and that's not all of it. That's just like the major stuff, I guess. That was like right before I left, I guess, to go to the Dark Star High School thing. I read the article about the Phoenix process, Jerry Garcia talking about it, and then I go to see the surviving members of his band, and that happens. You know what I mean? And it's like just the wheels on the bus go round and round. It's just always fucking like that, man. And I come to the Amazon rainforest. Here's another good one, man. And I'm talking about how it still happens in the current juncture, right? I come to the Amazon rainforest, and I when I was a kid, I studied the Amazon rainforest all the time. That's really all I did. How are there 8 of you watching and there's only 5 likes? I don't see the. So Amazon rainforest, and when I was a kid, I read a book called One River by Wade Davis, and I know I've also mentioned this recently, but of all the places in the Amazon rainforest that I could end up, I'm as close as you can be without living in the jungle, like the nearest bit of civilization, right, to the. Not just the tribe, but the specific group of that tribe from the book. When I was like a little kid imagining like being in the jungle, it was right here. And I didn't even know that until after we had been here for a couple of weeks. Somebody started telling me the story of the Warani spearing the missionaries. And it's right here. This is like I went to right where the book was. The people that he was writing about, So, and here's the thing, you guys, like, whether I, can ever pull it together enough to really, like, make something of these crazy experiences, and the one thing I'm certain of is that it is infinitely more satisfying to live in, to live with that dimension of experience available to you. And the reason that we have all of these problems and that people's values are so fucked and, just all of it, is this disconnection from that thing. When Native Americans say that white people just can't understand, that's what they're talking about. This type of give and take with the macrocosm is normal when your consciousness hasn't been like artificially restricted. Well, thanks, Virginia. And what I'm saying is that's what we all need to do, It's just, we kind of need people like me, I guess, to have gone out there and gone through it to some extent, because it is difficult and dangerous, and we are in unnatural circumstances. Like, even the way that people are drinking ayahuasca is not natural. You wouldn't drink ayahuasca with strangers under normal circumstances. The shaman wouldn't have just met you, and also we don't have shaman and teachers and magicians in European culture to guide and protect and to teach and to help people through these transitions, which also I don't think would be so dangerous and difficult if we weren't so out of balance in the first place. You know, the ego being out of balance, the values being corrupted, the exposure to all of the different crap that shouldn't be there. That's why, you know, it was so difficult for me when I went through the process in the first place. You know, where I had no one there was no one that could tell me anything. You know, I mean, there are a whole lot of people running around that I've seen that are really um, a lot more advanced than I am, and um, you know, they're not. We don't have one of those in every town and every village, um, and really, I think under optimal circumstances, there wouldn't be that much difference between the shaman and the rest of the people in the community, because you know, as I was saying, if your consciousness hasn't been unduly restricted, I don't think that we're so far from that kind of state. You know, it shouldn't be so unusual. So, so what do you think, guys? Anybody have any thoughts or questions or? I think I might be too tired to play really, although I kind of was. I mean, you know, I kind of want to do it because I'm curious what kind of recording we're gonna get with the. Yeah, what the hell, man? I'll play a little bit. And I have to pee first though. And then oh, do you guys want to see the spider? Was it you, any of you guys that are here now that were asking about that the other day? Because I did bring a flashlight up this time. The thing is though, it's like in this hole over there, and only its legs and a little bit of its head are sticking out, so you can't really see its full girth. The other reason I'm hesitant is that I really hate it when I try to use these backing tracks and the speaker dies, because and it always it charged all day, and then I how much it charged, and like 50% or something, which means it's not really charging. So we'll see if it works. Yeah, let's try one that I haven't even heard. How about that? Sounds like a sounds like a bad idea. Yeah, I don't know, man. See, gotta get back to the states. I have all this janky ass gear that's just not. Oh, and look at that, my Bluetooth.
uh, 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 like the icon is gone for no good reason. So that's dumb. Like, why would that happen? Like, why would the icon just be gone? Well, I guess that's not happening. We'll have to. Oh yeah, there's problems. All right. Well, I guess we're not going to be doing that for some reason. Um, Airplane mode. Hey, man, maybe no, because I couldn't be online if. Yeah. I think it's this thing. It's like not searching for the.
Anyways, guys, is there was thinking about things like you have been considered while we were.
All right. Well, I guess we're not going to be doing that for some
Yeah, I mean, the whole staying grounded thing is not easy when the rabbit hole is fucking wide open and you got the throttle, um, it's pressed all the way down or whatever. It's mind fuckery, and that's what I was saying.
don't really have people around to help us as much as we, we should, and it is dangerous, really, the expansion of consciousness, when you're, especially if you're severely damaged. Um, there are perils, what was his name? Robert Anton Wilson, who, yeah, it's just not. It's like this doesn't exist or something. It's just like not. Chapel Perilous called it entering Chapel Perilous, and that's why, shadow. Okay, so you guys, is there anything that you want to talk about? getting tired, I guess. I hope story time was interesting. Do hit the like button, share, subscribe, support us on Patreon. If you haven't noticed, I'm here every night now, and that is because I am seriously trying to fundraise so that I can get my health together, so that we can get back to California, so that we can be prepared for the big peak of the bull run in July. Um, I really do want to have some impact and try to catalyze some consciousness on a mass scale, make whatever contribution to that I can, and it's going to take some resources. It takes resources to do anything. So support me if you can. And secret stream, I am doing it on Sunday. I didn't mention this at the beginning, but I wanted to thank Michael. I don't see a last name. Michael Getzinger for becoming a new patron. Hopefully you're watching and you heard me. Otherwise, I'll say it again at the beginning of the next video. So thanks for watching, you guys. I'll try to get the speaker thing figured out and then hook it up. And did I talk about the occult? Yes. This is all the occult. Thank you so much, Earth. Oh, was that you earlier? 1111. That's pretty funny. Yeah, I appreciate you guys, man, for sure. It's definitely medicine for me to have people that appreciate stuff. But I'm melting here. I'm just I need to lay down. So I'll see you guys probably tomorrow, though. You know, I'm seriously gonna try to do this every day, probably a little bit earlier tomorrow, and then Sunday the secret stream. So I won't do anything else on Sunday. So good night, guys. It's the 12.